job I had gotten through a friend. Now, he's too lazy to even do the work. I mean, it's heavy lifting and all working on a body farm out in the middle of nowhere, USA. It's a 60-minute drive to anywhere. There's not much to do around here except look at the bodies that are outside and in the field and in the warehouse. We have to go by them and do some checks to see what stage the body decomposition's at. There's a 1 to 5 phase that we have to go through in order for them to hit the outside field. We have been getting some new bodies that have been coming from various parts of the state, like the state parks. Now, mind you, some of them that we get back, some of these people had been bitten or attacked by some bears, or we thought were bears. The claw marks on the skin were a little different, more like tiger marks or something. We can just not put our finger on it, as we are putting this one in a cage away from the other ones that did not have any claw marks on them. We wait for a few days to see the change in the one with the marks on it. It turns a blue-purple. Then we went digging down in the wound and we found a little sample of the claw that had broken off inside the body. As I head on home for the evening, I get a call from my boss asking me if I could work some extra hours next week, and I say sure, why not? And I head off to the local diner and order me a hamburger and fries and a slice of that sweet old cherry pie. As I'm looking at what's on TV, it's the news, and it's saying something about some strange flying creature that some people have been spotted in the area. They don't quite have a name for it, the thing yet, though. They say it has red eyes, and that's all they've seen. It flew up and away in the trees, and some hunters have been in the area looking for a deer. He had heard of some 12-point bucks that had been spotted in the area as they were walking to their blind to hang out and just watch. They had noticed a huge buck hung upside down with all its guts out and about, and that its tongue had been cut off, and the rest of it was all there. At least that's what the hunters had told the local news. They said their names were Bobby and Randy. Now I thought to myself, that's how I got to somehow track these men down and ask them a few questions. So before the news had cut off, I go to the next story. Said they're going to be at the Ranch Star Ranch. So I looked it up, and that's not too far from where I work. It's only about 30 miles southeast. So it's Friday night, and I decided to head over there early the next morning. So I wake up the next morning, I get there about 10 p.m., and I go up looking for these two men. I walk the trail for a bit, and I come across a blind in the trees. And I say to the men, I'm not a reporter, I'm just a curious person that might know a little bit about what you guys are talking about. See, I work on a body farm. We have been getting some strange claw marks on the farm here from bodies, and I wanted to compare to the ones that are on the animal to the ones that I have there at the farm. Well, go ahead and take a look there, son. See for yourself. They do not look like a normal creature to me. Well, you go ahead there, Randy. They do not look normal at all. Go ahead and take some pictures there and compare it to them there farm you have there, boy. So I go ahead and head back down the trail to my car and head back. As I'm heading back home to my house, I got the music up and the windows down, cruising along, just minding my own business. When all of a sudden, I slam on my brakes, and as a deer body has all of a sudden dropped from the sky and hits my windshield. I slam on the brakes, and I get a quick glimpse of the creature as it flies off into the night sky. Well, hearing this weird squeak noise, now that's just a little strange, dang it, do about this damn windshield. The things can really cost a lot of money. Now I have to kick out my windshield while driving, so now I just have that nothing but cold air coming in. As I pull into my driveway, the neighbors just stare at me, and I give them a glare and just walk inside my house and head straight to bed now. Whoa, I definitely needed a good night's rest after all that. I wake up the next morning and drive my car to a window shop that stops off at the end of the woods. I wait and it takes a few hours to get the job done, and then I head off to my job. When I get there, my boss is very short with me and says, you must come with me, I have got to show you what happened over the weekend with the body and the claw mark. And I says, what about it? Well, there's moss coming out of the wound of the claw mark. There's like a lot of them, I've never seen it before. Well now, that's very strange indeed. Now we have to throw it in an incinerator for now. It is no use for us in our studies that we do here on the farm. You're right, Anne, so I act like I toss it down the chute in the fire, but really put it with the other ones aside so I can do more investigation on it. Then she asked me if I had seen Paul around, because he has not been to work or called in for a few days. She's worried. I say, he's probably on the old moonshine again. He will turn up. I swing by his house and see if he's about or not. All right. Anne drives over to his house, and she knocks a few times, but nothing. There's a light on, but drapes cover any view of what's inside. So she goes around to the back door, and it happens to be open. She enters the residence. She looks around to the window, and he's not there. So she heads upstairs and finds him in the bathroom with the lights on. And there are moths all over his body. They're also coming out his mouth, and yet there was some claw marks on his chest and stomach. So she calls up Axel, and she meets him outside and tells him to go up and take a look up at Paul. It's just awful. Awful, I tell you. I says, it's all right, Anne. I have a strong stomach. I'll be fine. I'll be all right. So Axel heads upstairs and into the bathroom and sees Paul's there in the bathtub covered in moths, just as she has said. Well, he had been with us for about 25 years, so we place him in the new area, place a marker in honor of him. We head home for the night and get ready for the new day. But Axel's not able to sleep because he keeps having nightmares of his friend and all the moss all over him. He wakes up in cold sweats. He turns on his lamp, and when he does, his whole lamp is covered in moths. He knocks the lamp off the bedstand, and the light bulb shatters. Now he has broken glass all about his feet to deal with. Dang nabbit! So he hobbles over to the living room and sits in his lazy boy and starts getting his tweezers and pulling out the glass one by one. Now he bandages up his foot, pours himself a whiskey, grabs his keys, and grabs a flashlight, and drives off towards the forest. The winged creature was last spotted. He drives there and begins to see a massive swarm of moths fly out of the forest. So he parks his truck and heads out of the forest, not knowing if he will come out alive, determined to find the creature at any cost. He walks through the forest as he starts to notice more and more moths in the surrounding areas, so he thinks he's got to be pretty close now. He starts to hear the squeaking again. So he looks up high above the trees, and he sees the flying creature swoop down and try to attack me. But I dodge it, and then he hides behind the tree, of course. He can see me. He sees me running from tree to tree. I run out of breath. I stop for a minute, but when I do, he comes down and picks me up, and he grabs me. I grab my pocket knife and stab him in the wing, and then he drops me. But I only suffer a broken leg and some minor scratches, and I guess I had gotten some damage because... And that's the last I hear of the Mothman. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh yeah, and don't get trapped in the dark.